Coming up on the bench, the NIT coaches, Tyler Lydon. We have a jam-packed show of Syracuse basketball as the season concludes.
And it was another finish for the ages in Baltimore over the weekend for the SU men's lacrosse program. See how the Orange fared against one of the team's bitter rivals.
Finally, the women's basketball squad danced their way into the NCAA tournament as an 8 seed. See how Coach Q's squad performs with seniors Brittany Sykes and Alexis Peterson's college careers coming to a close. All of this and more coming up now. This is On the Bench. Welcome inside the Citrus TV studios. Alongside my co-anchor Jared Barton, I'm Brianna Adams. Now, we will get into what Syracuse teams did over the break, but what did you do over spring break?
Let me tell you, I sat on my couch most of the week and watched a whole lot of Netflix.
Well, that was definitely more entertaining than the NIT and men's basketball season. So with that, let's take a look at the second round as Syracuse took on Ole Miss in the Carrier Dome. Ole Miss against Syracuse, home court advantage in the Carrier Dome, but not a great crowd as the NIT tournament was a bit of a surprise for the Syracuse Orange. But in the first half, Gillen to Thompson takes it for the early layup. SU leads 6-2, but with 14 minutes left in the first half, Ole Miss's Cullen Neal with the three-pointer. Ole Miss takes their first lead of the game, 15-12. Then later on, Tyler Lydon, now the Syracuse veteran, 15-12 after that giant dunk from Lydon in the last few seconds of the half. Ole Miss will shut Syracuse up, heading into the locker room with the long three, but SU still leads by a basket, 38-36 at halftime. Heading into the second half, Terrence Davis, who had 30-plus points, bangs the three. Ole Miss is leading 45-38. And then 12 minutes left, Tyus Battle gets a dunk of his own. The freshman is making an awesome performance as the season is coming to a close. And Ole Miss again, DeAndre Burnett with another three-pointer for the team. They lead 82-78 and just under a minute left in the game. Tyus Battle tries to knock it but gets the foul. Ole Miss will take the victory 85-80 as they get a little cocky and throw that basketball up in the air. Now Syracuse upset in the NIT title chase as they take the L. Syracuse did not play like a tournament team. As we can see, Thompson once again was a top offensive player, leading the Orange with 18 points, as well as Andrew White, but the grad transfer seemed lost on the court. A man so consistent behind the arc, yet he didn't hit his first three until 6 minutes left in the game, went 3 for 9. But look at that, Ole Miss, Terrence Davis dominated in the paint, 30 points, 11 for 14 on field goals. Davis personally handed the Orange this loss to advance to the quarterfinals. Citrus TV's Andrew Morris was at the Carrier Dome for the season finale with more on how the Orange concluded their postseason run.
Well, it took a late awakening from the Q scores to keep things in check, but in the end, it was Ole Miss with the timely answers, ending the Orange's season 85-80 in the second round of the NIT. After a frustrating shooting start, Andrew White and Tyus Battle combined for 47 points, but in the end, Coach Boeheim said it was the defense that disappointed all year.
You have to stop the guy from shooting. We've never got out of the mentality that you have in high school where you hope they miss.
You know, you have to defend. This is a high-level Division I basketball, and you know, this is an era where so many guys can shoot the basketball. I think more so now than ever before.
You know, there's a few games throughout the season that you can go back to where we just let them shoot the ball way too well, and I mean that's hard. You're not really going to win basketball games that way.
So an early NIT exit ends Syracuse hoops until November. For now, the big question headed into the offseason will be just how Lydon plan to stay or leave for the NBA. Surely we'll keep an eye on that. Reporting from the Carrier Dome, Andrew Morris, Citrus TV.
Oh, Orange Nation was rocked over the extended weekend as the hits kept on coming after the loss to Ole Miss. First, the University of Washington announced that they had hired former assistant head coach Mike Hopkins. Hopkins is the head coach in waiting behind Boeheim, who is supposed to call it quits after next season. Instead, Syracuse Athletics announced a contract extension for the Hall of Famer, who will remain the head man until the end of the 2021-22 season. Monday, sophomore forward Tyler Lydon was reportedly leaving the program to sign an agent and enter the 2017 NBA draft.
When Mike came to me at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon in tears and said, I got an unbelievable opportunity. And he said, I got a chance to go to Washington. I was so happy because he was happy.
Very aware of our current student athletes. Our student athletes have committed to play here. What's the best outcome? And I believe this is the best outcome with Jim. And obviously, as Jim has said, Adrian and Jerry are two very, very good assistant coaches. So we have a terrific staff. And Jim will add another quality assistant.
If Tyler Lydon decides to stay in the draft or go in the draft, put his name in permanently, which he could do. We knew that 6 months ago. We knew that a year ago. He's been great for us. He's been a great player. I always think players should stay another year because I think it benefits them. But that's his decision, his family's decision.
So just a whirlwind for the Syracuse basketball team over the weekend. Bree, I need to ask, how is Hopkins leaving going to affect this team moving forward?
It's definitely going to affect them. Mike Hopkins and especially Tyler Lydon had a huge relationship together, and honestly, I believe that's one of the reasons why Tyler Lydon is leaving so early for the draft. But now you have Adrian Autry stepping up, and it's just very bizarre for this team to have a new person as an assistant head coach, especially when this whole team is new and they just learned all these coaches' names and all the skills and the drills that they had, and now the team's looking completely different on the coaching staff.
Yeah, coaching staff, and now going to be on the court. It's going to be different as well, as Tyler Lydon projected to leave, going to the NBA draft, apparently going to sign an agent. That hasn't been, I guess, confirmed yet. What's the impact of losing Lydon next season really going to have for Syracuse?
Well, Lydon, like he was this season, he is the veteran. He knows what to do on the court the most. He knows the 2-3 zone the most, but he wasn't that great this season. So especially for him, why are you entering the draft? I don't believe that this is a great time for him to enter the draft. He needs that extra year, other than like when Malachi left last year because he had that amazing tournament run. Tyler Lydon's resume doesn't look good at all.
So the question is next year's squad going to be better because of this move? Do you think that's going to maybe get a next man up mentality going, or is it going to digress, I guess?
I think it'll look a little better. You have Tyus Battle, who all of a sudden stepped up near the end of the season, and he's really going to lead this team. He's going to be the Tyler Lydon, but hopefully a lot better than what Tyler Lydon did this season. So I think under Tyus Battle and Frank Howard, but you have Torian Thompson, who has been great on the offensive end as well. Between those three, I think the team is going to do well.
Oh, well, exciting stuff. We'll see what happens. Let's take a break from the basketball talk for a quick second to see how the next chapter of the Syracuse-Johns Hopkins rivalry unfolded. The Orange took on the Blue Jays in Baltimore over the weekend. See how SU fared in the latest edition after these messages.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, baby.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise and be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back here on the bench alongside Brianna Adams. I'm Jared Barton. Well, when Syracuse and Johns Hopkins meet on the lacrosse field, you can almost guarantee it's going to be an instant classic. Last Saturday was no disappointment as the two teams met for the 56th time. This year, just like last year, the game was held down in Baltimore. Syracuse and Hopkins getting ready to go on a Saturday afternoon. The Orange warming up down on Homewood Field in Baltimore. Number 14 versus number 6. So number 6 would get a goal here from Nate Solomon, assisted by Ryan Simmons, tying the game up at 1 with 5:50 left in the first quarter. That tie wouldn't last long because we move into a couple minutes later, and there's Patrick Frazier getting the 2-1 marker for the Blue Jays. At halftime, the score is 3-2. Syracuse does have the advantage. In the third quarter, Sergio Salcido will give an assist to Nick Mariano, who rips it past the netminder. 4-2 Syracuse at that point. It looks like they're in the driver's seat, but that wouldn't last. Here comes Kyle Marr, who assists Wilkins Dismuke on the man-up goal, making it 5-3. Hopkins trying to crawl back in this one. Robert Kuhn with a ground ball and a goal finds the open space behind the netminder, making it 5-4. And then Alex Concannon would tie it up after some passes, of course, right past the goalie. All tied at 6, and this game is nowhere close to being over. Syracuse down 1 at this point. Jamie Tromboli assisting Nick Mariano, who gets the equalizer, tying it at 7. We head to overtime. Just like last year at Homewood Field, this game goes to overtime, except it's a different outcome. It's going to be Syracuse. Brendan Bomberry putting it behind the goalie, and they would take the win 8-7. So Brendan Bomberry was pretty quiet throughout the contest, but of course he did nail that game winner that we just saw. Sergio Salcido led the team in scoring with 1 goal and 2 assists. Nate Solomon and Nick Mariano also had 2 goals apiece. The win extends the streak to 3 games. Netminder Evan Malloy was named the ACC Defensive Player of the Week after stopping 7 shots. And for more on the OT thriller, we send it out to Men's Lax beat reporter Nick Dugan.
Last season, it was Wilkins Dismuke and the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays who sent the Orange home packing after an 11-10 overtime defeat here in Baltimore, Maryland. But this season, the Orange gets its redemption as Brendan Bomberry nets an overtime winner of his own to lift Syracuse over Johns Hopkins 8-7 in SU's 5th straight 1-goal contest.
It's kind of a broken play. Sergio drew a slide. My guy slid right off me to Sergio, and I was wide open in front of the net, and I just tried to put it in the net. I mean, so I had one job, and I did that. So
big for us to be down here. It's our 2nd road game. It's never easy to play at Homewood, and it's great to come out with a win, especially in overtime. Last year was the opposite. We lost at the end of the game on a rebound, and maybe that experience last year helped us win this game this year.
It's back to ACC play for the Orange as they get set to host Duke at 1:30 p.m. in the Carrier Dome on Saturday. Reporting from Homewood Field in Baltimore, Maryland, Nick Dugan, CitrusTV.
Now, Syracuse football was back at it at Ensley Athletic Center for Syracuse's annual Pro Day on Monday. Star Syracuse players gave it their all for NFL scouts. Syracuse receiver Amba Edetao came out to play, improving his records from the combine. He ran a 4.35 in the 40-yard dash, just beating his 4.49 seconds from the combine. Edetao wasn't the only one, though. Receiver Brisley Esteem ran a 4.0 in the 40-yard dash as well. Citrus TV's Kevin Ryans was at Ensley with more on how the draft hopefuls performed.
After a good showing at the NFL Combine, ex-Syracuse wide receiver Amba Edetao had one last chance to impress NFL scouts here at the Syracuse Pro Day. The wide receiver ran a 4.35 in the 40-yard dash, continuing to post big numbers since joining Syracuse last season. The wide receiver attributes his success to confidence.
I told him it was a focus. Like I told you guys, it's an attitude that can't be stopped. I gained that attitude after I came here. Some scouts, it's hard to tell, to be honest. Just kind of keep working hard. Your name will be called. Things will work out. But once the name is called, it's a different grind. So I'm just trying to prepare for that right now.
The wide receiver plans to travel to Atlanta and spend some time with family before continuing to prepare for the NFL Draft, which begins on April 27th. From the Ensley Athletic Center, Kevin Ryans, Citrus TV.
Thanks, Kevin. After a show in the national title game last year, women's basketball are back in the NCAA tournament as an 8 seed. Syracuse trekked all the way to Connecticut to start their tournament run. First, the team played 9 seed Iowa State. Let's see how Coach Q's squad fared in the first round. Syracuse up at Connecticut to face Iowa State in the first round of the tournament. Not the NIT, the nice NCAA March tournament, and early on, Syracuse would come out banging with a 3 from Gabby Cooper to shut out Iowa State early on, 9-0. Fast forward to the third quarter, though, Iowa State tries to make a show. Jada Buckley with the 3-pointer, but they're still down 51-34. Now, 3 minutes in the third quarter left, Brittany Sykes with the easy layup, 59-40 SU. And of course, highs wouldn't be complete without Alexis Peterson and a 3. 71-50 SU. Syracuse would end up winning 85-65 to Iowa State.
And they would move on to advance to the reigning national champions, the team that they lost to in the national championship last year, Connecticut. And man, Kia Nurse, she was on fire in this game, putting them up 16-7 at this point. And we were still in the first quarter. They were just getting trounced. Syracuse, another Kia Nurse 3-pointer, 31-11 at that point. In the second quarter, Alexis Peterson would try to get her team back in it, sort of cutting the lead in half with this 3-point from the right wing, but it wouldn't matter. 4:15 left in the third quarter. Here comes Gabby Williams with the layup. Too easy, 75-47. At that point, they'd go on to win 94-64, ultimately ending Syracuse's season. It was just pretty crazy to see those two teams meet up in the second round of the NCAA tournament. After that was the national championship game last year. A lot of people think that Syracuse women's were ripped off with the 8 seed.
Definitely, Syracuse did not get a fair chance, and especially not only is UConn amazing and #1 of the entire tournament, but it's at home. They had the home court advantage on top of that. But let's talk about women's basketball season now over for Syracuse with Brittany Sykes and Alexis Peterson. They dominated in both games, but what do you see from these two as their season ended?
Very good seasons for the both of them, which is going to really improve their stock for the WNBA draft, especially Alexis Peterson. Look for her to go places.
Definitely. Now, women's lacrosse took a nice trip during spring break to sunny Florida, first in Gainesville against Florida. Syracuse taking a tough loss 19-12 against the Gators. But later that week, Syracuse and Harvard took to the Floridian Fields for a matchup. Let's see if Syracuse could redeem themselves. And wow, did women's lacrosse redeem themselves? After 2 losses on the road against top team Maryland and Florida, redshirt freshman midfielder Mary Rahal saved the Orange in overtime. Just 40 seconds in extra time, the freshman knocked the goal to take the victory over Harvard 17-16. Syracuse was up 10-6 heading into the second half, but Harvard came out blazing to tie it up at the end of regulation. Midfielder Julia Glynn single-handedly brought back Harvard with 4 goals of her own in the second half. Syracuse will return to the Carrier Dome after a 3-game road trip to face number 15 Notre Dame on Saturday. We're going to take a break from On the Bench, but when we come back, softball traveled to sunny Georgia for a 3-game stint, and later we have your tweets of the week. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Go, okay, quick. Oh, yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning.
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better.
Please, don't quit on me.
Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It
It just makes me hungry for bacon. I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise? Not me. Me neither. Nobody. So we're good? What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Welcome back to On the Bench alongside Jared Barton. I'm Brianna Adams. Now, Syracuse tennis hosted Clemson on Friday after an impressive match against the U.S. Naval Academy, shutting out the squad 7-0. Let's see how the Orange fared back in home territory. Syracuse taking another home victory by just enough to improve their home record to 3-1. Sophomore Maria Tritu won the fourth singles match, defeating Sydney Riley to pull Syracuse ahead of Clemson after coming back from behind, losing the first set 3-6, taking the second 6-4, and just coming out on top in the third 7-6 to take the victory for the Orange. Other notable wins: Miranda Ramirez dominating second singles, defeating Navarro 6-1, 6-1. Tennis squad next takes on Georgia Tech on Sunday. Citrus TV's Brittany Ehrlich was down at Drumlins with more.
After 2 matches on the road, Syracuse tennis returned home this afternoon to face the Clemson Fighting Tigers. It was a close one for the Orange and had to be finished in singles, with Masha Tritu winning in 3 sets. Masha says she owes a lot of the win to her teammates.
It was one of the greatest cheering we had this whole semester. I told my team it felt like a basketball match. It was great. I love it. Of course, it makes you play better. It makes you, do everything for your team. Just stay locked in and do your thing.
It's a team sport, and we try to stress the fact that every point matters. We need to be all in it together, and I couldn't be prouder of the team. I think they did a phenomenal job, especially at the end when it came down to that last match on Masha's score, and really sending her that positive vibe and helping her throughout the match.
The final score was 4-3 Syracuse, and the next match is Sunday, March 26 against Georgia Tech. Reporting from Drumlins Country Club, Brittany Ehrlich, Citrus TV.
Well, the Syracuse softball team headed south this past weekend to Atlanta to face Georgia Tech in a 3-game series. SU had a 15-8 record heading into this trio of games. And the Cuse could not pull off the win in the first game of the series, but games 2 and 3 went their way. Game 2 was won on the shoulders of Alyssa Dews, who had 2 home runs, including a late grand slam. Game 3 was a close 7-5 victory as Sydney O'Hara picked up her 5th win on the year. The team next plays Louisville in a 3-game series at home next weekend. And now to find out about the softball team, we're going to play Give Me That Stat.
Now the first stat, number 7. Do you have any guesses?
How about the number of home runs hit in the series?
Close, not hit in the series,
Okay.
but Sydney O'Hara with 7 home runs since March 10th. She even showed up on SC Top 10. You never see softball, college softball, or Syracuse softball, that is. So Sydney O'Hara completely dominating this season so
Pretty
far.
crazy. My number's 25. Any guesses?
Did Tyus Battle make a cameo?
Unfortunately not. Syracuse has played 25 games on the road since the start of the season on February 10th. They've played in 1 showcase, 1 tournament, 2 invitationals, and 6 ACC games. They open up home play this weekend, of course, against Louisville. Another great show of On the Bench is almost over, but before we go, Brianna and I show you our top performers as well as the tweets of the week. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back to On the Bench. As we close this thing out alongside Jared Barton, I'm Brianna Adams, and let's go to your tweets of the week. Tweet number 1, Howard Washington's commitment to Syracuse. Get this, he went to high school in Orangeville, Ontario. I think it's a little fitting that he's playing for the Orange now.
Yeah, you have to go to Syracuse if you're from Orangeville.
Of course.
Let's take a look at our second tweet coming from a former SU men's soccer player, well, about a former SU men's soccer player, Alex Bono, who of course was the goalie a couple of years back, now plays for Toronto FC. He got his first start of the season. He delivered a clean sheet and a victory.
Great to see him representing.
Of course.
And on to top performers. It's time to see who the top performers of the week were over spring break. Now, I have Alexis Peterson. She did amazing, especially against UConn. For UConn, what it is, she still had 20-plus points in that game, as well as Iowa State. She had 10 for 21 on field goals with 8 assists.
She's been all over the court all season. You know, that's why she was up for the Wooden Award there at the end of the year. She's just going to be a great player. Now, we'll switch over to the men's lacrosse side. Even though he was statistically silent until overtime began, my top performer is Brendan Bomberry, and it's because of this lone goal in overtime that ultimately put the slam down on the Johns Hopkins Blue Jays. Very excited to see them pull off the win against such a bitter rival.
And now with basketball over, we can go full force into lacrosse finally and see more of Bomberry. Now for your public top performer, Gabby Cooper. Insane because of her game in Iowa State. She had a postseason record of 8 3-pointers in that win.
Yeah, it's crazy. Gabby Cooper is the future of the Syracuse women's basketball team, especially now that Alexis Peterson is gone and also Sykes. So, I mean, with those two players gone, people are going to have to step up. It's going to be Gabby Cooper.
Now you see Sydney O'Hara in second. I forgot to say before, but she tied an NCAA record with 4 home runs against UNC and that was where that SC Top 10 play came from. She's doing absolutely amazing for Syracuse softball.
Yeah, right. Definitely a critical person on the SU women's softball team.
Definitely. And now with all the winter sports out of the way, let's focus on some spring sports and see what's ahead for this week.
Yeah, what is going on in Cuse Nation right now? Well, of
Louisville.
course, Louisville softball. We talked about that earlier. And then, of course, men's lax against Duke. That's always a big game. And then we get some tennis.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech coming into town. And women's lacrosse, of course, playing, Notre Dame there in... Oh, that's on Sunday at the Dome.
And the lacrosse games are going to be really good. Both teams are in the top 5 now. Duke, a number 11 rank. I'm too focused on tournament play right now. And Notre Dame, top number 15. So that's all we have for On the Bench. And here are your images for the week. I'm Brianna Adams alongside Jared Barton. Thanks for watching.
You